In 1789, the Japanese government wrote off a sum equal to its entire annual spending because its warrior class owed that money to rice merchants.
And the exact documented figure for that was 1,187,808 rishu. That was the gold unit of the time. And they even tacked on 3bo, which is a quarter of a rish.
So they tracked this massive debt all the way down to the literal quarter coin.
They did.
Yeah.
But to understand how a warrior class racks up a national budget's worth of debt, you really had to set the stage for the listener.
Right.
We are looking at the Edo period, so that's roughly 1600 to 1868. Crucially, though, almost all the figures we're going to discuss are from the 1700s onward.
Okay, so this is a Japan that is entirely at peace.
Exactly. The samurai are a warrior class, but there is no war. And they are living in an economy that is just rapidly shifting to cash all around them.
Right. They are basically on fixed incomes.
Yeah, and you can see the shape of this class if you look at some figures from 1722. And I should note lightly that this comes from a reference database summary. At the top tier, you have the Hatamoto, or bannermen, who were allowed an audience with the shogun. There were 5,205 of these men.
That's the absolute elite.
Right. And their average paper rating was 507 koku. But then you look at the lower tier, the gokunin, or housemen.
How many of them were there?
There's 17,390 men, and their average paper rating was just 32 koku.
This is Ink and Iron, and this deep dive is about what a samurai was actually paid.
And we just threw out the word koku, which is, it's the foundation of all of this.
Yeah, we have to define that unit if we're going to make sense of any of this math.
So at its core, one koku is just a unit of volume. It's about 180 liters, or roughly 150 kilograms of brown rice.
Okay, pretty straightforward.
But the official government fiction, the whole basis of the system, was that one koku fed one adult for a year.
I've looked at the merchant records, and they show it actually took about 1.8 koku to feed an adult for a year.
Yeah, exactly.
So the government accounting didn't even match reality from day one.
It absolutely didn't. It was an administrative convenience. By pretending one koku was enough to survive, they could project this image of a massive military force on paper, even if it wasn't remotely fully funded.
Okay, so how do you actually get paid? I mean, are you out there collecting this grain from a field?
Well, there were two ways. The first is chigidori, which means holding grant taker. That's where you collect tax from assigned land.
Which sounds very much like, European feudalism. I survey my land, I take the harvest.
It does, but you have to factor in the tax rate, which was shitrokumen. That translates to 4 to the lord, 6 to the people.
Oh, so a 40% tax rate.
Right, so a 100 koku fief only yielded 40 koku for the samurai.
Wow, okay, so right off the bat, your paper rank is cut by 60%.
Exactly. But managing rural taxes was messy. So by the mid-Edo period, the government moved most retainers to a second system called Kuramae dori,
Which means?
granary rice taker. Under this, rice is issued directly from a warehouse.
So they weren't landed lords at all, they were just government bureaucrats on a payroll.
Basically, yeah. And this is where the conversion chain really hurts them. I'm pulling this from a National Diet Library summary. Granary rice was paid in hais, or bales.
Okay, bales instead of koku.
Right. And the government converted one bale to 0.35 koku.
Let me just work through that math really quickly because this is crucial.
Right.
If my paper rank is 100 koku, they hand me 100 bales.
Yes.
But 100 bales equals 35 actual koku of rice. And if I sell that at the market, it's roughly 35 ri in gold.
You've got it.
So the most important habit you can learn today is that when you hear a samurai's rank, you immediately divide it by 3 to understand their true income.
It is a brutal conversion rate.
So let's apply that math to the 17,390 gokunin we mentioned in the cold open, the ones rated at 32 koku.
Right, the housemen. In reality, they received between 30 and 80 bales.
Which equals what?
Just 10 to 28 actual koku of rice.
To run a whole household for a year.
Yeah, and it gets worse. The lowest documented pay was 4 ri and 1 fuchi.
What's a fuchi?
It's an allowance fuchimai, calculated at 5 gu per person per day. A gu is a very small volume measure. Over a year, 1 fuchi is about 1.8 koku.
Wait, which is exactly the amount merchant records said it takes to feed one person.
Exactly.
So the absolute floor is 4 gold pieces and bare minimum calories for a single human being.
Right. There was actually a stock phrase for this level of poverty. Sanjupyu ninin buchi. It means 30 bales, 2 rations.
Which works out to...
Roughly 14 koku a year to run an entire household.
That is insane, especially when you contrast it with a daimyo. I mean, to be a lord, your paper rating had to be at least 10,000 koku.
The inequality was staggering, and we haven't even talked about the permanent pay cuts yet.
There were more cuts.
Oh yeah, it was a system called carriage, or borrowing up, where struggling domains just withheld stipends. A 50% cut was called hanchi.
50%. If you're on 14 koku, that's impossible.
I know. And initially this was pitched as an emergency measure, but these cuts eventually just became permanent.
So you get the paper number minus the farmer share minus the conversion rate minus the permanent domain cut.
Exactly. It's a fraction of what they supposedly made.
Which naturally leads to the obvious question. If I have, say, 1 reeve in gold left over, how much is that in modern money?
That is the impossible question. The Bank of Japan's Currency Museum has estimates, but they show why there's no single answer. They actually publish 3 conflicting numbers.
Really? For the same coin?
Yes. So first, on a rice basis, 1 rij equals about 81,000 yen.
Okay, so maybe a few $100.
But then, on a soba basis, buckwheat noodles, which cost 16 mons, a copper coin 1 reeve buys you 406 bowls of noodles.
That is totally different. That's just cheap street food.
Exactly. And the third estimate is based on a carpenter's wage. 1 reeve equals 23 days of labor, or roughly 414,000 yen.
Wait, that is a 5-fold difference from the exact same institution on the exact same page.
It is, because Edo households bought entirely different goods than we do today. Plus, the gold koban coin was changed and debased 10 different times.
Ah, so the metal wasn't even consistent.
No. And rice prices constantly shifted, so we really just have to leave the modern equivalent unresolved.
Fair enough. But they are obviously broke, so how did they survive? They're getting paid in bulk rice 3 times a year, right?
Spring, summer, and winter. And they lived in Edo, modern Tokyo. They needed cash, so they used the fudasashi.
Who were they?
The rice brokers in the Kuramae warehouse district. They took the bulk rice and sold it. The commission was legally fixed at 3 bulbs per 100 bales.
But, I mean, a simple flat commission doesn't cause a national debt crisis.
No, the real issue was that the brokers knew exactly what every retainer was paid and exactly when it was coming, so they became lenders.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the samurai started borrowing cash against their future unissued stipends.
It's an 18th century payday loan.
Exactly. And the rates were brutal. According to reference summaries, interest started at 25%, was capped at 15%, and eventually settled at 18%.
That is awful.
And that's not even including massive front-loaded extra-legal gift fees.
So this predatory lending is exactly how they accumulated a national budget's worth of debt by 1789?
Yes, it was a debt trap. And the government's solution was the Kansei reforms, specifically a kanrei, or debt cancellation order.
Wait, they just wiped it out?
Yeah, they wiped out the entire 1.18 million Juche debt.
That is brutally ironic. Instead of paying the samurai a living wage, they just canceled the debt. Which means... Wait, the brokers must have stopped lending to them.
Immediately. It cut off the samurai's absolute only credit line.
So with no credit and shrinking wages, what do?
You turn to nashoku, which is household piecework, a side hustle.
They got side hustles.
They did. Now, these are traditional associations, not archived registers, but different units had famous specialties. The Aoyama unit made umbrellas.
Okay.
The Shubo unit grew azaleas, and the Okachi, who were the shogun's foot guards, grew morning glories.
Wait, really? The literal palace guards were growing flowers?
Yes, and that actually originated Tokyo's modern Iriya Morning Glory Fair.
That is incredible. It's like the modern gig economy, but for elite guardsmen trying to survive.
It really was. And the historian Isoda Michifumi argues that maintaining the ceremonial appearance of their rank just completely drained whatever little money these households had.
So the rank itself is costing them money? If the rank costs money but pays poorly, what happens?
They started selling it. By the Kai era in the 1850s, ranks were literally being sold via adoption.
Selling adoptions, like a black market for titles.
Precisely. A yoriki, or senior police officer post, cost 1,000 reach, and an okachi post cost 500.
Yeah.
A Dushin patrolman was 200.
Whoa.
And just general stipended rank was sold at roughly 50 rees per 100 koku.
So this whole hereditary aristocracy just turned into a market for job titles.
Basically, yes.
So if the reality was so bleak, how do we get this popular Western image of the wealthy, honorable samurai?
You can just look at the English language Wikipedia article as of 2026.
Right.
It completely omits the Edo period debt, the side work, the poverty. It only mentions hardship after the class was abolished in 1868.
Really? They don't mention the gig economy at all?
Not a word. The English account describes the average Hirasamurai, or rank-and-file warrior, as having a 100 koku stipend and being typically mounted on a horse.
But we literally just looked at the hard Japanese statistics from 1722. 17,390 men rated at just 32 koku. They were nowhere near wealthy enough to own a horse.
Right. The English account defines the koku accurately, but it leaves out the 40% tax, the Bale conversion rate, the brokers, and the permanent cuts.
So English accounts give you the nominal paper fife, while the Japanese sources record the actual take-home pay.
Exactly.
If you only read the government's ledger, you get a warrior aristocracy. But if you read the actual take-home records, you find salaried men whose shrinking wages forced them to grow flowers to make rent, eventually amassing a national debt that had to be wiped away by decree.
Subscribe to Ink and Iron for more deep dives that go back to what the historical records actually say.